Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for July 22nd. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I'm here today to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 27 live feeds. It was day 14 in the house. And hold on.
I made it.
Maggie?
Hi, everybody. Sorry I'm a little late, a couple minutes late. I had a work commitment, but
You're not
I
actually
made
that late.
it.
I was informed that you would be later and that I should start
I
ahead.
thought I would be. I thought I would be later, but it all worked out. So I'm super excited to be here. I can't wait to talk about everything that's going on. I've been loving so much of what we've seen so far. I think that this is such an interesting cast and such an interesting structural way that they're playing the game. And I do think like so much of this twist has had implications on like game structure just in general. By twist, I mean the three nominee blockbuster twist, not the random vetoes that we're handing out to people power up style twists. But yeah, I'm so excited to be here and talk with everybody and talk through the day.
Yes, plenty to talk about today as the nominations were finalized, and campaigning has really begun for not just the vote, but also really like there we are starting to see like competing structures a little bit, like little baby structures trying to form. So we'll talk through all of that. Of course, Jimmy is the HOH. He nominated Adrian, Keanu, and Kelly. But Keanu, with his power, managed to get the veto via Casey Clark, and plans to take himself off the block. Jimmy plans to replace Keanu with Amy, which is causing a lot of turmoil within his own group. Kelly also has a veto power, which will allow her to compete in a separate individual competition that if she wins, will grant her an additional veto. And then if she takes herself off the block with that, Jimmy plans to replace her with Will. And that is sort of the plan coming into the day.
You know, Will is my guy, my 50 plus guy. So hated that part of the plan. And I do think I want to say, just like as a sort of overview going into the day, saying, you know, Jimmy has all of these ideas of the things that he wants to do because he seems to be playing fairly scared right now. I think that this is something that I really wanted to highlight, which is for whatever reason in this house, structural, like nailing down a structure is something that everybody's been a little gun shy on. And this is one of those examples where the way that Jimmy thinks as a player is very independent outside of a structure. But this is a perfect example of if he had a structure and also was committed to engaging with them in terms of his nominees, he would feel less scared about people coming after him because he would feel like he has the support of the 10 people in his structure. That's why these structures can be so crushing. That's why something like the Bomb Squad was so crushing with those outside people. That's why something like Grateful or Undeniable or whatever, you know what I mean? Because even though you have to nominate 5 people, you're just nominating the 5 people who are like the house or the outsiders. And yeah, if those people win, there's still like your structure around you. So I think that it's just been really interesting because these people who are the really, really loud ones on the season and who have been in power are less interested in that sort of insulation in a weird way.
Yeah, it's strange because this also sort of happened last season, of course, famously T-Core and Chemo, but like there just need to be more conversations. Like if Jimmy wants the heavy hitters to work, or if he wants even just triple threat to work, like he needs to have group conversations. And in those conversations, just like what should we do? Because this is what I'm thinking. And if they push back, he can be like, I hear you. I'm worried about putting up Riley, or I'm worried about putting up Ashley. And you know, just have that instead of these like individual conversations where he keeps going, no.
Yes. I was about to say, even in those, when he says, I hear you, but I'm nervous about putting up Riley, maybe they could genuinely assuage his fears, you know, like having a group of 7 people in front of you being like, no, if you put up Riley, everyone here will be in support of you, would assuage those fears of like, it's too early. And I do think that his inflexibility, which, you know, we've seen with people like Keanu, we see with like this house is full of inflexible players, which personally I'm loving because drama, but his inflexibility is really, really part of the issue here, and why he is coming out of this HOH in a horrible position. Not even because he had to nominate 5 people. It's his inflexibility and his like lack of desire to listen to the group that he seemingly wants to be working with.
Mm. Well, there are a few happenings here. One is that, you know, Morgan and Mickey's idea of building their own new alliance, sort of via will, is going to continue forward through the day. And there's just continued, you know, tension between Keanu and Rachel. There's actually one very funny thing that's happening with Keanu because he's otherwise not super relevant to the day. But we listen, just yesterday, we talked about how Keanu continues to deny the fact that he voted Amy out. And nobody believes him. However, I believe, if I'm tracking this correctly, something funny happened, which is that Will still believes that Riley voted Amy out because Will still, I think, believes that Kelly is the one that flipped. Remember in the episode, Will was like, Kelly flipped, not me, not Riley, not any of the guys. It was Kelly. And so Will has a conversation with Morgan where he says, I think Riley voted Amy out. And Morgan's like, what? I thought Riley was the one that was telling the truth. And he goes, no, I think Riley voted to vote Amy out because he thinks that Kelly is the one that flipped. But in Morgan's mind, she goes, wow, if Will is telling me the truth and Riley is the one that voted Amy out, that means that Keanu must be telling the truth. And Keanu is the one that voted for Amy to stay.
Which is, okay, if we're starting at the top of the day, that means at this point, she's genuinely softening on Keanu. And she's like, okay, then maybe he is telling the truth. Like, and the thing about Keanu is just like, he's one of these players where I'm like, where did you come from? How did they find you? Why are you unable to make the correct move at every single opportunity and every single turn when it's basically like, he's presented with 2 choices, and it's either make a good move or make a terrible bad move. And every single time he's like, that one. I want the bad move. And I'm never, ever, ever going to admit that it was a bad move. And it is working. And by the end of the day, Morgan believes Keanu.
And starts spreading it around the house as well. She's telling Mickey now, I think that Keanu voted to keep Amy after all. She's telling Jimmy, and Jimmy's like, what? No. And she's like, no, I think so. Like, that's what like Will is saying. And it's all, I believe, based on this misunderstanding from the miscommunication with Will. And so it's very, now the thing is, it doesn't matter. Like nobody actually cares, which is kind of the whole point.
And that's what I was kind of saying, Taran. It's like this information coming out should soften people on Keanu, like if he got what he wanted. However, every single other thing he's ever done since the moment he stepped foot into the house makes them be like, well, it doesn't matter. We can't do anything with him. Like, it doesn't matter that he's lying or that he's not lying. Like, he still is antagonizing Rachel at every single turn. And, you know, just Keanu as a player, I am like the size of his target. You know, you were talking last night in the roundtable, the size of his target is becoming so big that it's like, oh, suddenly we're blinded to it, except for he keeps antagonizing people. Like, that's the problem. If somebody's target is really big, it does sort of disappear if they're like not also horrible to live with.
Yeah, that is certainly an issue for Keanu. And a big other part of that issue is, of course, that he continues to just blame Rachel for all of his problems. And despite the fact that Morgan and Mickey have thought like maybe we can use Keanu to take a shot at Jimmy, maybe we don't need to be targeting Keanu. The fact that Keanu continues to blame both Rachel and Morgan for all of his problems, and now this is getting back to Morgan over the course of the day. Morgan is going to go to Rachel and say, hey, Rachel, Keanu is just a lost cause.
Yeah.
Like, he just continues to blame us for no reason at all, because nobody's even pushing him in. Like, nobody's manipulating. This is not even like Nicole Anthony BB27 when she's like weirdly thinking that Janelle's after her, because at least Cody and them were manipulating her into thinking that. This is, nobody's trying to get Keanu to blame Rachel. He's just doing it all out of his imagination.
She literally was just like, yeah, I don't know. He just hates me. Like, I literally don't know why. He just hates me. And I do think, like, and this is a longer conversation to not be had on this update, but I do think that there is something to this idea that when you bring back players who have not been on the show in over 10 years, it's sort of like their reputation precedes them. And the style in which they cast this show means that these people know who they are, because they know that they should study up a little. And you get someone like Keanu who watched clips. You get people like Zach who watch clips, who know who Rachel Riley is, but don't actually know the way she plays the game. Janelle had this huge problem in All Stars where people were like, she's a snake. And Janelle's like, I've never betrayed anyone I've ever worked with. Like, that's just not the way that I do things. And it's the same with Rachel. He's like, she's a snake. She's trying to manipulate me. And like, that's never been Rachel Riley's game. Rachel Riley's game has been win competitions, be kind of a social pariah, again, be one of those people your target's so big that it ends up shrinking. And like, he just, I agree with Rachel, doesn't like her.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there might be something interesting here as well, where, you know, when we often cite the like, hey, a returning player amongst a sea of new players kind of cast, it's actually pretty rare that the returning player is a winner. This is actually the second time in Big Brother history that a winner has played with new players. And obviously the first time led to a Boogie pre-jury and Dan losing the jury vote. And this time it's led to, like, Rachel is not seeing the kind of benefit we normally see when a returning player comes in. Every other time it's been a non-winner, and they've done remarkably well in this stage of the game. And then you also think about Survivor, and it's like, yeah, pretty rare on Survivor for it to be a winner as well, now that I'm thinking about it.
And I also think that it's the combination of them not having really seen Rachel's seasons and her being a winner, that this huge reputation precedes her, that I don't know. Sorry, go ahead, Taran.
Sorry, I did forget about Jordan and Evil Dick.
Yes, but that also was more mixed the way like Dana.
That was
like,
much
this
more
is just
mixed. Yeah, that
one
wasn't,
person dropped in. You know, like
it was 6 people versus 4 on 14 and 1 in this season. And
like you've said, and like you've said many times, if Tucker was in here, he would be a god. Like, these people would be kissing his feet every night. But because this is somebody who, I would say, 80% of the cast has not seen Rachel's season, either of them. They've only seen clips, and her reputation has preceded her. That means that they're able to build up their reputation in her head and prescribe qualities to her that don't fit, which I do also think is something that happens in Big Brother all the time, just from profiling for women, for people of color, for older house guests, for big guys, you know, like this is just something that happens in Big Brother, but it's so interesting to see it occur because of like some meta Big Brother stuff too, you know?
Yeah, I'd say also you can't blame me for forgetting about Evil Dick and Jordan on a season, but it was Rachel's winning season, so I don't really have a good excuse.
I think everybody's really upset about it, Taran, and I think that the chat especially is going to be really mad at you the rest of that update.
So that's really what Keanu's up to throughout the day. There are a few storylines, but I do feel like this is a good update for sort of person by person as well. Just because, again, now that the campaigning can really start in earnest, we really want to like give a good solid stance on where people are. But I guess before we get to that, of course, we need to update you on the veto ceremony, which took place fairly early in the day. the feeds went down for the veto ceremony. Keanu did take himself off the block. And, we expected we'll find out the result of Kelly's thing as well. However, when the feeds came back, Kelly had still not played her competition. She had just activated her power. So Keanu took himself off the block and was replaced by Amy. And Amy is now on the block with Kelly and Adrian. Kelly is still going to be playing in her competition, and they kind of had to wait to see what would happen there, which kind of confused me because the end result of that is they had to wait. And in the waiting period, there wasn't much they could do because the noms still weren't locked. And then she had to compete in the thing. And then I guess they had a second ceremony. I don't get why they just didn't have her compete at the ceremony and then do it all in the same time. But,
I'm sure that she had to go to that special little room upstairs and do it.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. But they brought Caitlyn up there after she was evicted. You can just do it right away.
Yeah. We'll see what it is. I think that they all were really correct in their read. That was why would they have Kelly do this competition if she doesn't win? How lame for the episode viewers to watch her do this whole competition and then lose. Unless you're Caitlyn and it's the puzzle and it's the greatest moment of my life where I remember exactly where I was. But yeah.
And I think we can just kind of fast forward as well and let you know that Kelly did then compete in the competition. And it was apparently an 8-piece puzzle that she had, I think, 3 minutes for. And according to the house guest, she was incredibly impressive on it and crushed it and managed to win her veto, took herself off the block, and Will is the replacement. So the final nominees are Adrian, Amy, and Will.
Woo. I do want to point out just about Kelly, her being so good at puzzles. She's a pilot, and so one of the big skill sets for being a pilot is being good at sort of slide puzzles in general, because you have to be able to predict sort of move a shape 3D in your head, which is not a skill I have. In fact, there's that dice competition on Big Brother that they played. Devin and Donnie competed on, and I like those types of competitions. I'm out first, but it doesn't surprise me that Kelly is such a puzzle queen in that way. Yeah, and I think that it's causing people to be a bit I actually think that her winning all this stuff makes her an even bigger target than she already was.
Yeah, to some degree for sure. So here are the final nominees, and now we really have to get into the nitty gritty of it all. It starts with who's anti Adrian, who is coming after Amy, and who is coming after Will. Nobody really coming after Will. Will has probably the most support right now. Jimmy himself has come off of the idea of trying to target Will. And Jimmy, in fact, seems pretty set on sending Adrian out the door, that he actually is looking to target Adrian. He is citing arguments made by Rachel to him the day before, thinking that now is the time to take a shot at Adrian, that Amy is an easy nomination for other people. He's now concerned that if Amy is gone, then players like him may be nominated more readily because a player like Amy is not available to be the easy nomination. And so he is making that argument, but it's falling on deaf ears. Yet again, we have an HOH who has nominated a set of players that are not conducive to what he actually wants to have happen this week.
And also, you can't, the most important thing with your having a successful HOH is you get out the people that you want to get out, which means you need to manipulate the nominations so that you get out the people that you want to get out. And you can't just be I'm going to put up who I want, and then I'm going to campaign the rest of the week to make sure that who I want out is out, because that's when you don't have any power anymore, and you can't compete the next week. So why would people like Mickey and Morgan, who are pissed at Jimmy, people like Rachel, why would they listen to a word that he has to say? I mean, it does behoove them to get Adrian out, but I suppose I should say more people like Zach. Why would Zach listen to what Jimmy has to say?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely could have made sure that Adrian left if he had spent his
Uh-huh.
energy in the last couple of days, making sure Adrian was the target, making sure he was nominating people that would make it much more likely that Adrian would leave. But he has not done those things. And so, we will see by the end of the
Yeah.
day, it's actually looking a little bit better for Adrian. Adrian
Mhm.
himself is not doing a ton throughout the day, and that is sort of by design. He talked about how he wanted to continue to lay a little bit low and then maybe kick up the campaign later. It seems like it's kind of working for him, but it's not exactly what I'd advise in this house.
Well,
So we'll see.
I think it's less working for him, and that the other nominee is tanking her place in the game. Like I think it's less a check on what Adrian's doing and more a bad on what Amy's doing.
Yeah, which is honestly kind of similar, but with just the added stuff of like stepping her foot into things she shouldn't in the times that she does talk to people,
Mm-hmm.
because she is spending most of her time like either complaining about Rachel with Ashley or commiserating with Will, or like having conversations with people and like annoying them.
And
And
I
yeah.
do have empathy. Like I do think that it's very hard to be on the block 2 weeks in a row. It's hard to feel expendable. But like this is when you show that you're not expendable. And by doing those types of things, that is only going to make you or solidify your place as more of a block star.
Yeah. I think also like some people are having buyer's remorse from last week. They were like, we
Mm-hmm.
were kind of sold a bill of goods that Amy was going to be a number for us and that she was going to be like
Yep.
with us. And then, after she stayed, she didn't really continue to talk to them all that much and
Can
just continued to hang out with Ashley most of the time.
can I say something, Taran? I feel like as viewers, we're getting buyer's remorse. Like yesterday, after watching what she was doing and the complaining, and I'm sure we'll get to it with Ashley. Like watching that, I was kind of like, okay, well, feel less excited about the prospect of Amy staying. I'm like, if this is what we're going to get on feeds, I don't know. I agree with that sentiment. I think if I was in the house too, I would be like, so what are you bringing me? And I do feel like Adrian, yes, he's connected to Kelly. Yes, he's connected to these people. But I feel like if I was one of the players in the house, Adrian is one of the people who is actually a bit more fluid and a bit more open, despite him being like, no, this is who I'm voting for last week. I actually think somebody like Adrian, because he's such a gamer, would be interested in a secret alliance type thing, would be interested in a like, let's work together, us two, and like, let's figure this out, versus someone like Amy, who is putting her foot in her mouth in a lot of places and doesn't really have much influence.
Yeah, and I think we need to talk a little bit about Ashley here as well. I mentioned it on the
Yeah,
roundtable last night, but
I, okay. This is what I have to say about Ashley. I don't think Ashley is like a bad person by any means. I don't want to say that at all in this, like genuinely. I can't believe how not self-aware she is. Like it's actually shocking to me. It's genuinely, and it's so funny to see like sort of the juxtaposition between somebody like Ashley and somebody like Ava, who Ava was walking around as a bush yesterday. Like she literally was wearing a bush, and you would think like that automatically is going to alienate you from the house guest. But because of Ava's understanding and her ability to read a room, or read auras, as you will, her ability to read a room, she's able to make that really charming and work for herself. And she's doing super great socially. Ashley, okay, so I tweeted, or didn't tweet, I blue skied this yesterday. Ashley came into the bathroom, saw Rachel on her hands and knees scrubbing the bathroom floor.
they were all
Zach,
supposed to be cleaning. It was supposed
yeah,
to be like a house group effort cleaning.
yes. And Rachel's on her hands and knees scrubbing the floor. Zach, who I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news to everyone, he's great at Big Brother. If he knew the show better, I would say cut him the check now. But he knows exactly how to play up what he naturally brings to the table. Zach walks in, sees Rachel cleaning, immediately jumps into action. Has the thought of like, this woman is on her hands and knees cleaning. If I'm going to be in this room, I should also be cleaning. Ashley comes in, sees Rachel cleaning, starts twirling around, is eating her food, talking to Rachel, whatever. They're talking about how the house is gross, all of this stuff about the sink. Rachel is like, yeah, well, or she says something about how Ashley says something about how people are gross and don't do something with the sink. And Rachel's like, well, I've never seen you clean the sink. And Ashley was like, what? I never leave my hair in the sink. I always clean the sink. And Rachel was like, yeah, mind you, Rachel's in full gloves cleaning. Ashley's just standing around. Rachel leaves. Ashley immediately starts talking crap with Zach about it and is like, I don't know why she came at me. I never do that. Do you think I do that? And I want everybody to know that if you are trying to talk crap about someone who's just left the room in the Big Brother house and the person you're talking to is like, well, I don't think that they meant it like that. Stop talking crap about them. Stop. Immediately stop. They are not on your side. They don't want to hear it. And Zach was like, I actually really don't think that she meant it like that. I don't think that that was what was going on. So then Ashley like gets a Swiffer and does it wrong, like can't figure out how to load the Swiffer, only furthering Rachel's point that she maybe doesn't really clean. And it becomes this whole mess. Ashley went on the rest of the day to be so offended by it. Like that comment, she was so offended by it. I was shook by the whole thing.
Yeah. I don't clean at home. Why would I clean here?
Well, who's the maid who's going to clean here? I understand if you are able to hire somebody to clean your home, that is a wonderful luxury and you're allowed to use your money however you want. Great. Good on you. Who's the people that you can hire to clean here in the Big Brother house?
Rachel. Apparently.
Dude.
And so she complains to Amy about this, and she's like, I knew it. See, she's not on our side. She's got to go. She's going to nominate us.
I can't handle it. I was shook by all of this. I was like, you are an incredibly educated person. I know you've lived in college dorms before. I know you've lived in a sorority house. I know you've lived with other people. Like, what?
Remember, she is also the one that got into a playful, I would say, argument with Rachel over who's more bougie. And she was convinced that Rachel was more bougie than her.
And I actually, all of this is totally, like, this doesn't mean anything about Ashley's character. Like, truly, it's fine. To me, it's just like Big Brother is a social game. I don't understand how you can walk into a room and see people who have social influence in the house. Rachel and Zach, two people who are very connected within the house, scrubbing, and then get offended when they suggest you join them. That's all.
Yeah. So yeah, and then Rachel did apologize. She was like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it to be mean." And Ashley was like, "Well, it was."
I honestly have no word. I'm like befuddled by the whole thing. I'm completely befuddled by it.
I just can't imagine doing that. Like, I just can't imagine being the person who, like, because listen, there's a world where I can imagine where, like, I'm Keanu and I really think that people are buying my nonsense. I can't imagine the world where, like, I am asked to clean and I'm like, how dare you?
and are like, yeah, I really can't wrap my head around it. I just, that's why I said befuddled. Just I and like I said, this is not, I want to make it super clear. Like, I don't think that this says anything about Ashley's character. The only thing I think that this says is about Ashley's, like, awareness, like social awareness, And so I do think moving forward, like, Ashley's going to struggle in this house just for those basic things. I saw a couple of alumni talking about this, not even yesterday, but earlier, like, about the shower stuff, where they said, like, being a good roommate goes such a long way in Big Brother. And I bring up the Zach example. Rachel said to Zach about 4 times while he was cleaning, like, this is so nice of you, Zach. You don't have to do this. This is so nice of you. Wow, this is so nice of you. And Rachel's the type of person like that 1000% is going to endear her to him even more. It's just amazing to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and this is all still kind of relevant now, again, because this is where like Amy is like, I'm not even like Amy is agreeing with Ashley in these conversations. We need to be like targeting Rachel. She's not good for our game. She's going to target us because she wants us to clean. And
sorry, that sentence, Taran. She's going to target us because she wants us to clean.
It's like they're living in the silo in the show. Like, oh, we're sending them out to clean. So this is happening. Now, the good thing of what's happening with Ashley over the course of the day is that Mickey and Morgan are on their journey to create this alliance that they want to create. And in their minds, the core 5 of this alliance is the 2 of them, Will, Ava, and Ashley. And this is because Morgan, Mickey in particular, feels connected to Ashley. Morgan actually likes Ashley a lot, despite the fact that Ashley has been very anti-Morgan since basically the feed started. She just hasn't caught that yet from Ashley. And so the 2 of them think that Ashley is a good person to bring in to this alliance. And they are trying to build that. Mickey does talk to Ashley about this idea, and she does reciprocate the notion of potentially being in this kind of alliance, although she's a little concerned afterward that she said too much. However, when Mickey talks to Ava, basically Ava's biggest concern is, I love this alliance, love this idea. Ashley, though. You sure?
Yeah. Because Ava's reads. The cutest part about all of that whole conversation is Mickey and Ava are kind of like comparing notes, talking about wanting to work together. And Ava's like, well, I don't really want to, I have to be honest with you about something. And this is not Ashley, this is different, but I have to be honest with you about something. And Mickey's like, don't say it, I'll say it. I love Lauren. I do not like Katherine. And they giggle and hold hands and are like so excited about that. And I do feel like it was you don't like this person, I don't like this person, now we're connected over this type of thing. And I do think that Ava, even that little foothold with Mickey, maybe Ava can kind of get them to cut Ashley out and bring somebody else in.
Yeah, and so basically what's happening here, the alliance that Mickey and Morgan are trying to form, again, I already named the 5 of them, but in addition to that, they're looking at, like, on the outskirts of this alliance, players like Zach, Rachel, Vince, and like rounding it out in that way. And on top of that, we'll talk about where the vote is going. But basically, you might look at this and say, okay, so this is sort of an alternative to the, maybe the heavy hitters, but the heavy hitters are basically dead because of Jimmy's actions this week.
Yeah.
So then you look at, well, what is the other alliance that exists right now? And it's the Bond. And it's the Bond primarily because of Ava, because Ava's super pumped about the Bond. And she's kind of the only one, maybe Lauren a little bit as well, that like thinks it's a real thing. But because she thinks it's a real thing and is pushing it, it, kind of becomes a little bit more of a real thing. And so with Ava talking about the Bond today, talking with Lauren about how they're the Bond girls, it's like, okay, well, maybe we're now looking at, competing structures. Is it Mickey and Morgan's structure, or is it, Ava and the Bond? And they are competing structures. However, they almost entirely overlap as well. With Ava's inclusion and with the idea that they maybe were going to keep Adrian over a player like Amy, which we'll talk about, all of a sudden, they just kind of all meld together. And what might end up happening is that there are specific people left outside of it. Katherine, Riley, Keanu, Kelly, Jimmy.
And I think This is why I think Mickey is definitely the best player in the house right now, in my opinion. But I think Ava is like a dark horse. I'm really loving what Ava's doing. If Ava was a little bit more active, I think I would put her in that Mickey camp. But yeah, and these are all the people that we've been talking about aren't playing the best right now. So
I mean,
yeah.
If Ava, like, given Ava's positioning within these two alliances, if she was like a super fan and as active as she is and as charismatic as she is, I would feel very confident that she would be able to like this is an incredible position that she has found herself in. She's not quite a super fan, but she does have the activity and the social game and the just general game sense. Yes.
Yeah.
To I think be able to maneuver this fairly well. Might not be optimal, but like she can with like this is a very good spot. This like people would like even a player like Derek would be like, wow, it would be awesome to have something like that. Like he had his own thing, but like two separate alliances that overlap with you in the middle that you didn't form either one of them. Like that's phenomenal.
It is. It really is. And like I said, you would think somebody like Ava, who's walking around with her hat as a bush, is going to be somebody that people are like, I don't want to talk to that person. But she's so herself and so personable and so great. And she has the very like East Coast sort of like bluntness, I think, that people really appreciate in a really fun way. Like she's very funny. And I'm really loving what's going on with her, and I'm hopeful that she can sort of keep it going.
So that's sort of what's starting to build here. So that's what Ava is up to for, I would say, most of the day. Like I said, she has this conversation with Lauren about the bond again. They call themselves the Bond Girls. Lauren was, I think, more active yesterday in a very positive way. She talks to Ava about like that their kind of like duo thing going on. She also has a bit of a duo thing going on with Vince, although that exists mostly in her mind because, again, like anytime Vince talks to anybody, he just Yes, I agree with you. Yes, he's very good at it.
I don't care. I know he's good. I don't care. I still don't like it. I'm still annoyed. You're still on my list, Vince. Until you can prove to me you can actually do something, you might be good at getting people to like you. But I don't know if you're good at Big Brother. I don't disagree with the 6 you gave him last night. I probably would have done the same. But Vince, my eyes are on you, and I would like to be proven wrong. Please prove me wrong.
I'm genuinely like, I find it very funny. Like any conversation you find with Vince, just find any moment where he disagrees with the person he's talking to. Which he won't.
Is fine. It's good Big Brother, but I think like the king of this, right? The king of all of this is our guy, the Meow Meow, right? This is his thing. However, the Meow Meow would not have put Cody on the block week 1. Okay, do not disrespect the Meow Meow like that.
I was looking for the other because it's not quite Nicole because Nicole was more active and had opinions and moves, but I was looking for it's the Meow Meow. It's Enzo.
Yeah. And he never, how dare you even suggest that he would not have formed an alliance and made a complete structure week 1 because if anything, the Meow Meow knows how to make a group of people, and he never would have put one of those people on the block week 1. Come on.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jimmy, we've already talked some about. However, we should talk more about the fact that he is continuing to move in the direction of essentially Katherine, especially because I think in his mind, it's Katherine and Lauren. But the reality is, as we'll talk more about Lauren, Lauren is kind of connected to Katherine. A lot of people have compared this to like the Leah and Mackenzie situation where like they're technically kind of linked because they're two women in the same age group and very few other people in the house are in the same sort of demographic. But other than that, like not that connected. And Lauren, I think, is being pulled away by people like Ava, by people like Vince, by people, in the Bond in general. And Katherine is sort of like in her corner with Riley and now Jimmy. And so I think in Jimmy's mind, he's getting like a 2-for-1, Katherine and Lauren. But I think what he might find is that Lauren was kind of only hanging out with him because he was HOH, and she's got friends that she likes better. And he will likely find himself sitting there with just Katherine and, loosely connected to Riley, maybe. But he is like diving deep into those waters, complaining to Katherine about Morgan and how gamey she is, and letting her know that Morgan was trying to get Riley on the block, which then Katherine goes to Riley with and lets him know, hey, Morgan was trying to get you on the block this week, which led to Riley calling her the B word. Oof.
Anyway,
which led to a lot of people online go, there it is.
Yeah. Who was surprised? I mean, yeah, I like you and you're just going to have to deal with that. Okay. That anyways, moving on from that, I think, and I watched feeds all day yesterday. Like I had them on all day. I think you could play a clip of Lauren speaking and I would have no idea who that is.
Oh, but she does have a distinct voice, I feel.
But like when
you just wouldn't recognize it.
Like I'm really sorry to this. I really feel like sorry to this man. I wouldn't know a thing. Lauren is such a non-factor to me because she's just kind of there. Like, unfortunately, Vince is playing much better Big Brother than Lauren, because he's at least like in there and making people think that he's with them. Like Lauren to me is very like the most 5-level player that there is. And I don't know what else to say about her. Like I know that she's like loosely connected to these people, but I'm like, does she want any of that? Does she have thoughts about anything? It's just I would love for you to tell me, Taran, if there's something more there.
I think that Lauren is essentially playing the same game as Vince. She just isn't as good as him at like socializing. But basically, again, everyone she talks to, she agrees with. She tries to not have any opinions of her own. She tries to conform to whatever somebody else is saying. And she buddies up to the HOH, which she's very much playing that floater game. Hasn't delved too deep into the RHAP part of it yet, as Vince hasn't either. But I think that's essentially what she's doing right now. And the question, of course, is like, just as it is with Vince, will she ever start actually doing anything, pushing anything, especially given that Vince is doing the same thing, just a bit better?
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you for that Lauren update, even though I have been absolutely engrossed in the season and watching everything. I still didn't know that. So I think that says something about Lauren's entertainment level.
Katherine is heading into some deep trouble here, which is unfortunate because she is becoming more active in the game as she talks more with Jimmy, and is like, exposing information to Riley and starting to become a bit anti Morgan and Mickey, which she needs to be. The problem is that as she's slowly warming up to the game, she's already finding herself, I think, quite far behind in terms of where she needs to be. When somebody like Ava, who is currently in the middle of 2 budding structures, is agreeing with Mickey, like, oh, we can't stand Katherine, that's bad news. You need to be socializing more so that you have these options, so that those options are available to you in spots like this. And when you are a consensus person that none of the people in power seem to get along with, that's very bad. And when one of your closest and most powerful allies is the outgoing HOH next week, things could get very bad very fast.
I was about to say she needs that HOH more than anybody else, actually, like even more than Keanu, because I think Keanu would just make everybody even more mad at him. All it would do is buy him another week. Like some of these people who are house targets, like I have no faith that they could do something with it. I at least feel like if Katherine got an HOH, she could possibly get some type of semblance of a structure around her, maybe. But yeah, no, it's not looking good for our girl Kat.
Kelly is not up to too much throughout the day. She wins her veto and gets more respect as a competitor, which, I mean, here's the deal. I mean, I said it a while ago. I said, Kelly, I think if she stays long enough, she'll start to win over some fans. And there are definitely some Kel heads that exist at the moment. But even more importantly, if she keeps winning competitions, that is the like thing that she might need to do if she wants to start being like actually respected in the game, because people are not talking about Kelly in the same way that they were just a week ago. And it's because she's won these competitions and people are sort of forced to now deal with her. It does not mean that she is like a player that is in the mix by any means, but yeah, you seem very disturbed at the thought of Kel heads.
I literally heard her say, if it's gonna be the guys plus Kelly, we need, like, come on, Kel heads. What are we doing?
Never underestimate what winning competitions and being a weird character will do for you in the fan base.
I'm gonna hold my tongue on this one, and we'll revisit later once I have a little more information next week. Maybe next week I'll come out with a full dissertation on the way that I feel about Kelly and the Kel heads. But I feel I haven't quite collected all of my data yet.
So we've talked plenty about Mickey and Morgan. They are easily the most active throughout the day.
Oh wait, sorry. I do want to say it's interesting that they're called Kel heads because she does love scratching people's heads. There's a lot of conversation about head scratching from Kelly. So yeah.
Mickey and Morgan throughout the day, definitely the most active. Here's my opinion. I think that this vote will be Mickey's choice. I think that whatever Mickey decides to do will be how the vote goes, because she has the most, she like has the most push and has the most ability to push. And so, initially, it seems like, right, Mickey and Morgan were likely going to be pushing onto Adrian, and that if they did, that could be very bad news for Adrian. However, simultaneously, Mickey is largely the reason why people have moved off of Will, because she has wanted to protect Will. And so with this in mind, we were thinking Will is the safest, but between Adrian and Amy, the votes should be there for Adrian. But with Mickey and Morgan pushing on him, it's likely going to be that the votes fall back onto him. And we see that a little bit throughout the day, that that Morgan is starting to try to make the case to get Adrian out. Jimmy is also on board with that play, of course. As we've talked about, Morgan has a conversation with Zach about, hey, we should try to take out Adrian. He basically says no, and then afterward is like, oh, I can't tell her that I'm in an alliance with Adrian. Oh, man. And how he really would like to keep Adrian. But all of this becomes moot when Mickey, seemingly out of the blue, decides, you know what? I don't really mess with Amy like that anymore. I kind of want her gone. I say seemingly out of the blue, but like we know where it came from.
I mean, like I said, can you blame her a little? I don't know. I think that if I was like, okay, I stuck my neck out here to help you, and now you're not doing anything to help me, like you are now talking about how and Amy's not really. Has she been saying to Mickey about like the Rachel stuff? I don't know if that's true, but like Mickey and Morgan are firmly on the camp. Like Morgan said to Rachel, like, I cannot lose you. Like, we cannot lose you. They're firmly on like, Rachel's on our side. We need Rachel here. And I do think that like, yes, of course, it's important to have as many numbers as possible. And, taking out somebody like Adrian, who is definitely not a number for you, versus taking out somebody like Amy, who should be a number for you, is not like there's a clear choice there. However, I'm going to be completely honest. If Amy won HOH next week, I'm not convinced that Ashley couldn't get her into her ear and she could put Rachel up as a backdoor.
I quite frankly think that if Amy won HOH next week, the most likely outcome is that Rachel goes home.
Yeah. Which is
or is not goes home, but is put on the block.
Which is just that's abysmal. Sorry. That's abysmal.
Yeah. So basically Mickey's just like, I don't think we can rely on Amy. I think she's too emotional. I'm just like, I'm kind of out on Amy. And Morgan's like, but Adrian, we're really going to keep Adrian? And she's like, I don't know. And Morgan is kind of like, you know what? All right. I could see that. Like Morgan's not putting up too much of a fight either, which is, of course, again, a far departure from where they all were last week when they really felt like Amy would be valuable to their games. Amy has just not proven that to be the case in any way. And so when Mickey says, I think we keep Adrian over Amy, the whole thing falls. Like it's not even close anymore.
No.
Amy will for sure go home against Adrian and
Ashley will vote her out.
Yeah, I bet she will. Did you see Ashley's goodbye message to say? I was planning to stick to my deal with you, but the numbers weren't there. I
can't. I actually didn't see that, Taran. I don't know what you're talking about because I refuse to acknowledge that was him.
And not to mention the fact that all week long she's been like, man, we really need Zay here. I really wish we'd been able to keep Zay. So yes, with Mickey on board to keep Adrian, Amy is basically dead in the water. She cannot stay in the game without Mickey's support, and Mickey is not on board. She has convinced Morgan to not be on board. And so Amy, as of right now, is easily the person that will leave if she does not win the blockbuster. That then brings us to Adrian versus Will if she does win the blockbuster. And I do still think that there's a very good chance that Adrian leaves over Will.
Yeah.
Because Mickey, again, Mickey and Morgan's whole thing is we're keeping Will, and he's part of he's building this for us. They're still propping him up as the figurehead and having him go around and propose a lot of these alliances to people. And they're even saying things like Will wants to make this alliance, and he's in the core. Adrian is not. He's not even really in the alliance. And so they definitely would be pushing in that direction. Ava also feels closer to Will than she does to Adrian. Yep. Really, the only person standing against that happening is Zach, but he's not going to have enough pull, I don't think, to make it work. So,
Morgan can just get him. Morgan can just get him to do it, right?
Oh, according to her, yeah.
Another thing I can't really get into. It's too much. I can't. The cringe. Ugh.
Yeah. So the vote there is basically decided. Now, the only other thing to mention about Mickey is that we've been talking about it over the last few days. Mickey has the power. The third power is a thing that continues to spread, and now rapidly. There is a good portion of the house that now all believe that Mickey has the third power. You can at this point kind of point to the people who don't believe it, or who have yet to hear it and fully take it in. So people like Keanu, people on the outs that you would expect to not be up on information, they're pretty much the only people who now don't know that Mickey, or don't at least heavily suspect that Mickey has this power. So the likelihood of her being able to use it effectively has diminished quite dramatically. I will still say this: do not discount the whole interrogation thing. No. Having played a game like Blood on the Clock Tower, you can be like, we know this person's the demon, but then when it comes to the debate back and forth, all of a sudden people are like, well, actually,
I thought you were going to say, do not discount how bad Keanu and Kelly are.
Well, yeah, Keanu and Kelly obviously will pick the wrong person, regardless of what input they have. But even somebody like Zach, who basically knows it's Mickey, I think could be, because this is, I think, how it works. You do the interrogations, and all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I really thought it was Mickey, but
totally.
Ava was so weird in that conversation. Could it be Ava? I thought she stayed. I thought she didn't even compete in the comp. I thought she stayed. But what if somebody gave her? Like you can really trick yourself and overthink things when you have unnecessary information. It's like how they like tip lines, or like, oh, don't, too many tip lines, and now we're getting all kinds of bad information trying to find this person.
For cops. You're talking about cops now. All right. All right.
So
Sorry.
Is there another kind of tip line?
No. I'm sorry. I'm just teasing you. I'm sorry.
Rachel was basically informed at the end of the day it's not looking great for Amy. She's kind of in a lot of trouble here. She again also was told about Keanu, and she's like, I know about Keanu. Like I've looked at him in the past 24 hours, so it's obvious how much he hates me. And she also had a bit of a journey as she is going around the house looking for clues. She wanted to take the hourglass and an hourglass out of one of the bedrooms. And then sort of like almost got caught, was like sitting there like trying to hide it, and then like trying to like move out of the bedroom and like sneak the hourglass in. Very funny. I bet this is like episode material, so we're likely gonna see it in one of the episodes.
I was about to say, I don't actually think it'll probably be next week's episode. I bet you that they'll save it, and maybe a couple weeks from now we'll see it as like a filler when they need something. But yeah, it was very, very fun. She's being Rachel. Love her to death, obviously. Yeah, it's cute. It's very Hotel Mystère. She understands the assignment.
So that was kind of what Rachel was up to. We talked about Riley. Basically, the only notable thing he did during the day was have that conversation with Katherine. Vince is just, again, up to Vince stuff, just agreeing with what people are saying to him, and, solidifying more relationships. Will did take a lot of direction from Mickey and Morgan. He is kind of doing what they want him to, which is proposing these alliances, talking to Zach, talking to other people about like, hey, maybe we should build something here. And so this is all working out fairly well for Will so far. And like I said, he should be the safest on eviction night.
Also, Will has I know Will's taken a back seat this week, which is very disappointing to see, because I do think Will has incredible game sense. Like, Will knows what's going on. Will brought up Zach to a group of people. And because he was like, oh, so you're just going to put all the older people on the block? Like, why would you not want to put somebody like Zach, who's everybody likes, who wins stuff? And everybody, of course, like you said, shut him down immediately. But the only person this entire time that has had Zach's name come out of his mouth is Will. And so I'm rooting for this. I'm rooting for my guy. I'm rooting for him to pull through, and for him to, get in good with this power structure of Mickey and Morgan. I think that he has a good understanding of what's going on. And I think that comes from the position of kind of being an outsider. You're able to observe maybe a little bit more than when you're in it and your emotions and stuff are all wrapped up in it. But yeah, I just want to highlight that.
Yes, and there were some conversations about Zach. Will kind of led that charge, but they did evolve a little bit. There was talk from from people like Mickey and Morgan about like, do we want Zach in jury? Because they are always talking about who should be in jury, which I think people are actually a little too low on. I think people are like, it's way too early to be talking about jury. But then I feel like, once you are like in the final two and you can't win a jury vote, people are like, what terrible jury management they had. And it's like, well, part of jury management is eliminating people that won't vote for you before the jury starts.
Totally.
So that's it's not that bad of an idea. But I do think they talk about it a little too much. I will agree on that.
I think that they should just be focusing less on that and focusing more on their alliance. Like, what they should be doing is like, we want these people in jury because they're in our alliance and they'll have been a part of seeing how my game is moving.
Right. I mean, who do I want in jury is basically synonymous with who is in my alliance.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
in the same way that like who do I want in my end game should be kind of synonymous with who is in my core alliance.
Yep.
And too often I think the people like again like people like Will, who was like apparently all about the Burger Boys, is like yeah, I guess like you really want your end game, Will, to be like 5 dudes. Like do you really think that's your best chance to win the game? Like I doubt it. So why are you all about this as like your core alliance? Which is why I figured he wasn't, and I still don't fully buy the edit, but like I haven't heard different.
I know.
And then, of course, yes, there is Zach. Zach is, I think, just mostly determined to keep Adrian this week, but despite his good position, still just doesn't really have a lot of sway. Yeah.
I was just going to say, it's so interesting. Again, this is something that I talked about yesterday. Like, I think he reminds me a lot of Matt from BB27, who is just naturally really, really good at the game. Just naturally knows what to do, is really good socially, has that built in, he's attractive, he's athletic. People are going to naturally be drawn to him, but he's also really likable. Like he knows how to get people to like him. People do like him. He's playing good big brother. He just, to me, is not active enough. And like you said, not enough sway. I think being able to keep Adrian this week is huge for Zach. And I think that Mickey getting rid of Amy or wanting to get rid of Amy, I do understand. However, the blind spot is what keeping Adrian can do for Zach and the way that it only builds Zach's power base, because Zach's playing such good big brother that like, I don't know that he needs a named alliance because everybody wants to work with him anyways. And there's no other real named alliances. Obviously, if there was one and he wasn't a part of it, that would be different. But Zach being able to keep Adrian because of Mickey's mistake, I don't know what that will mean for him overall in terms of like, is this a win for, is this Zach doing something good, or is this Mickey making a mistake, and like how that ranking wise. But like, I really got my eye on Zach right now. I really like, he's playing well. He's playing really, really well. I've been impressed.
I do think it's a pretty significant mistake for most people in the house to keep Adrian. I think Zach, Keanu, and Kelly, and I guess maybe to some degree Katherine and Riley, because they're on the outs. Like basically anybody on the outs or Zach, they're the only ones that really benefit from Adrian staying in the game. He has already demonstrated that he is very capable of winning competitions, and very few people are actually connected to him. We also know that his mindset is that he wants to work with people like Zach, like other big comp threats. And so it's just, I think, just a big mistake to keep him around, especially over Amy, who is really just, might end up targeting her closest ally if she wins power. Like not that big of a threat at the moment. Yeah, the
last thing I want to say about Zach is not only does he have that 10K veto, not only does everybody in the house like him, one of the biggest strategic forces in the house is like in love with him, and they have a sock that is their mascot or child or something that I heard them talking about yesterday. Like, Morgan is really, really into Zach. And I think that, that is huge for him as well. Like there's a lot that he's got going for him.
Yeah. So that's basically what I've got. Maggie, anything else that you wanted to bring up from yesterday?
No, I feel like we hit everything that I wanted to say about all of the people. I'm glad we went through everybody so I could give some thoughts and takes. I am really interested to see what happens on eviction night. I do think that Adrian, just because of his comp ability and how he's proven to be capable, will probably take himself off. And then I do think between Amy and Will, like I would understand everybody wanting to keep Will, especially people like Mickey and Morgan. I agree with you, the mistake of keeping Adrian over Amy, if that is where these nominees fall. But But yeah, I'm excited to see, what happens. I'm excited to see this like a little bit more of a solidification of what's going on. And I'm excited to see Jimmy crash out when he's inevitably nominated next week or targeted. I think that that'll be really fun.
Man, yeah, what a fumble by Jimmy. And he doesn't have the benefit of the first HOH or the benefit of like Vince's social skills to keep
I
him afloat
know.
after this mistake. But we'll see. He is very active. We could see him try to work his way back in next week, but he will have to be playing from behind for sure. All right. Well, that is what we have for you then today. I will, of course, be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 27 live feeds. Again, headline in order of most danger to least danger. It's going to be Amy, Adrian, and Will as the target priority list heading into Thursday as of today. And I'll let you know if that changes tomorrow. In the meantime, check out the roundtable we did last night. Check out my book, Behind the Mirror. Hold on. I've got 2 of them. Where'd that come from? So if you want 1 or 2, go to taranarmstrong.com and pre-order it now. Otherwise, find me over on Twitch and YouTube. Maggie, what are you up to?
Yeah, I'm here all season long covering Big Brother. So exciting. I'm going to a Big Brother watch party this week, I think, in Brooklyn. So if you're in Brooklyn, check it out. I think it's called the Have Not Room. I'm going to that. Come say hi, join us. I've never been, but the guy who is running it seems really excited about it. It's new this year. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky at @MLMorgan_. I'm having a lot of fun right now with all of this. So very excited to see where the season takes us.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining me here today. And I will see all of you next time.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.